Imagine experiencing a moment so powerful, it changes everything you thought you knew about life, death, and the eternal bonds of love. In this captivating journey, we dive into the extraordinary dream of the mother of Carlos Acutis, a dream that transcended reality, bringing her face to face with her beloved son in a realm beyond this world. Was it merely a dream, or was it a divine message meant to offer comfort, peace, and revelation? Join us as we explore this breathtaking encounter, unravel the profound messages hidden within, and discover how one powerful dream can transform grief into hope and fear into faith. This is a story you won't want to miss. On that fateful night, everything seemed ordinary, yet the mother of Carlos Acutis had no idea her world was about to change in the most extraordinary way. As she prepared to sleep, the house was calm, quiet, and familiar. Nothing in her routine gave her any indication that she was about to experience something beyond her wildest dreams. As she drifted into sleep, what began as a normal night transformed into something deeply spiritual. She found herself standing in a place of pure serenity, a realm that felt far from the physical world she knew. The air was thick with a sense of peace and stillness that made her feel lighter, as though she had stepped into a different dimension entirely. It wasn't just a dream. It was as if her spirit had been transported to a sacred space. Suddenly, a presence began to materialize in front of her. At first, it was a gentle glow, almost like a mist that gradually took form. As the figure became clearer, her heart leaped in her chest. It was Carlos. Her son, whom she had lost, stood before her, glowing with a divine light that illuminated everything around him. His presence was both comforting and awe-inspiring, and she could hardly believe her eyes. Carlos looked just as he did before he passed, but there was something different about him. He seemed to radiate a purity and peace that could only come from being in the presence of the divine. She felt a surge of emotions, joy, love, and a sense of spiritual connection that words could never fully capture. This was no ordinary dream. This was an encounter that transcended the boundaries of the physical world. As they stood facing one another, time seemed to stand still. In this moment, there was no need for words. The bond between mother and son was so strong, it was as if their souls were communicating directly. She could feel his love, his peace, and an overwhelming sense of reassurance that he was in a place of eternal light. This wasn't just a fleeting vision, this was real. The space around them was filled with an ethereal warmth, almost as though angels were present, watching over this sacred reunion. The light that surrounded Carlos wasn't just physical, it was spiritual, and it touched her heart in a way that nothing else could. Every detail of the encounter felt vivid, as if she had crossed into another reality, one where the veil between life and death had been lifted. As she reached out to him, their connection deepened. Though no words were exchanged, the message was clear. Carlos was at peace, and he wanted her to know that he was still with her, guiding her from beyond. The love that flowed between them was indescribable, a love that transcended time, space, and even death. She knew in her heart that this was not a dream, but a sign, a message from the heavens. The emotions she felt were unlike anything she had ever experienced. It was a mixture of joy, peace, and a deep sense of relief. Carlos was not lost. He was still very much present in her life, watching over her, protecting her. This realization filled her with hope, and for the first time since his passing, she felt at peace with the knowledge that he was in a place of eternal bliss. As the encounter continued, she became aware of a greater presence. It was as though the divine itself was orchestrating this moment, allowing her to experience the sacred truth that love never dies. This encounter was more than just a dream. It was a reminder that the bonds we share with our loved ones are eternal, and that death is not the end. When she finally awoke, the dream lingered in her heart as if it had truly happened. The peace she felt was so profound, it changed her entire outlook on life. She no longer viewed death with fear or sadness, but with a sense of understanding and acceptance. Carlos had shown her that there is life beyond this world, and that our loved ones remain with us, even when we can't see them. Reflecting on the dream, she realized that it was more than just a personal experience. It was a message for everyone. The dream carried a universal truth, that love transcends all boundaries, even the boundary between life and death. It was a reminder to cherish the people we love, to stay connected, and to trust that we are never truly alone. This dream didn't just bring her peace, it brought her a new sense of purpose. She felt called to share her experience with others, to offer them the same comfort and hope that she had received. She wanted the world to know that, just as she had experienced this encounter, they too could find reassurance in the knowledge that their loved ones were watching over them from above. The encounter became a turning point in her life. It renewed her faith and strengthened her connection to the divine. From that moment on, she knew that no matter what challenges life threw her way, she had a source of strength that was far greater than anything in this world. Carlos had shown her the truth, and now she was ready to share it with the world. If this story has touched your heart, be sure to subscribe and share it with others who might need this message of love and hope. Together, let's spread the light. The presence beyond, the encounter in the dream. As the dream continued to unfold, the air around her seemed to hum with a presence that felt almost otherworldly. It was as if the boundaries between the spiritual and the physical realms had dissolved, allowing her to experience something beyond human comprehension. She could sense that this moment was not accidental. It was purposeful, a divine connection that had been orchestrated just for her. The figure of Carlos grew clearer with each passing second. His radiant appearance wasn't just a reflection of who he was in life, but a manifestation of something much deeper. He looked at peace, more at ease than ever before, as if he had been embraced by the very essence of heaven. His smile carried with it a message of reassurance, a silent but powerful communication that everything was as it should be. As she stood there in awe, emotions began to flood her heart. She felt a surge of overwhelming love, not only for Carlos but for the divine power that had allowed this moment to happen. It was a love so pure and all-encompassing that it transcended words, enveloping her in a sense of peace and warmth she had never known before. In that instant, she understood that this was no ordinary dream. It was an encounter with something holy. Carlos didn't speak, but his presence communicated everything she needed to know. The connection between them was beyond words, a silent understanding that filled her soul with joy and peace. She knew in her heart that he had come to reassure her, to let her know that he was safe, and that he was always with her, even when she couldn't see him. This realization brought tears to her eyes, but they were not tears of sadness. They were tears of gratitude. The atmosphere around them was charged with a divine energy. It felt as though angels themselves were present, witnessing this sacred reunion. The space was filled with a soft, glowing light that seemed to radiate from Carlos, a light that bathed her in comfort and healing. In this moment, the pain of his passing seemed to melt away, replaced by the certainty that he was in a place of eternal peace. She wanted to reach out, to hold him, but something in the dream told her that this was a moment meant for spiritual connection rather than physical contact. Even without touching, she could feel his presence more strongly than ever before. It was as though their souls were communicating directly, bypassing the limitations of the physical world. This connection was deeper than anything she had ever experienced, a bond that transcended life and death. Time seemed irrelevant in this dream. Each moment felt like it stretched into eternity, giving her the chance to savor every second of the encounter. She knew that this was a gift, a rare and precious opportunity to feel the presence of her beloved son once more. And though she wished the moment could last forever, she also felt a sense of closure, an understanding that he was not gone, just in a different place, watching over her. As they stood there together, the message became clear. Life on Earth was just one part of the journey, and the love they shared would never fade. Carlos was not lost to her. He was simply in another realm, waiting for the day when they would be reunited. This dream was a reminder that the bonds of love are eternal, unbreakable by time or distance. The peace she felt in his presence was unlike anything she had ever known. It was as though the weight of the world had been lifted from her shoulders, replaced by a deep sense of calm and certainty. Carlos was at peace, and so was she. The dream had given her the closure she needed, but more importantly, it had given her the strength to move forward with her life, knowing that he was always with her. As the dream began to fade, she felt a gentle pull, as though she were being drawn back to the waking world. But the peace and love she had felt in the dream remained with her, lingering in her heart as a constant reminder of the encounter. She knew that this was not just a dream. It was a divine visitation, a message from beyond that she would carry with her for the rest of her life. When she woke up, the memory of the dream was still vivid, as if it had happened in real life. And in many ways, it had. The connection she had felt with Carlos was more real than anything she had ever experienced, and she knew that it would continue to guide her in the days to come. This dream was a gift, a blessing, and she would never forget it. If you've been moved by this story, share it with someone who needs hope today. And don't forget to leave a comment with your thoughts. We'd love to hear from you. Signs and revelations, the meaning behind the dream. In the aftermath of the dream, she couldn't shake the feeling that it carried a deeper meaning. It wasn't just a comforting visit from her son. There was a message embedded in every moment of that encounter. As she reflected on the vivid details, she began to realize that this dream had been more than just a fleeting vision. It was a revelation, a sign that there were greater forces at play, guiding her through life. The first revelation that struck her was the undeniable sense of peace she had felt throughout the dream. In the moments with Carlos, she was enveloped in a calm that she had never experienced before. It was as if the pain and grief of his passing had been lifted from her shoulders, replaced by a deep sense of acceptance. This peace was more than emotional, it was spiritual, and she knew it was a gift from the divine, a sign that Carlos was not only at rest but thriving in the afterlife. Another significant revelation was the brightness of the light surrounding Carlos. In the dream, he had radiated a light so pure and intense, it illuminated everything around them. To her, this wasn't just a metaphor for his peaceful state. It was a sign that he was in a place of divine favor, close to the source of all creation. This light represented hope, and it was a message to her that the afterlife was not a place of darkness or loss, but a joy and reunion with the Creator. As she thought more about the dream, she realized that there had been a message of connection as well. Even though Carlos had physically left this world, the bond they shared was as strong as ever. The dream wasn't just a reassurance that he was safe. It was a reminder that their relationship would continue, no matter the boundaries of life and death. This was a powerful revelation for her, as it reinforced her belief in the eternal nature of love. The dream also seemed to carry a message of purpose. She had often wondered what her role was in this life, especially after Carlos's passing. But through this dream, she felt a renewed sense of mission. Carlos had shown her that there is more to this life than meets the eye, that there are spiritual realities far beyond the physical world. This realization ignited a desire within her to live more fully, to embrace her purpose with the knowledge that she was being guided from above. The silence in the dream spoke volumes as well. Though no words had been exchanged between them, the communication had been crystal clear. In that silence, there was a revelation about the power of presence. Sometimes, words aren't necessary to convey the deepest truths. The love and connection she felt with Carlos in the dream was beyond anything that language could capture. It was a reminder that sometimes, the most profound messages come in the quiet moments of life. As she continued to reflect, she felt that the dream was also a call to faith. It was as if Carlos was showing her that there is a higher plan at work, one that we can't always see from our limited perspective. This dream was a reminder to trust in the divine process, even when things seem unclear or painful. It was a message of faith, faith in God, faith in the afterlife, and faith in the enduring power of love. The dream also brought clarity about her own grief. For so long, she had been carrying the weight of loss, feeling as though a part of her had died with Carlos. But this dream was a revelation that grief does not have to define her. Instead, it showed her that she could transform her grief into something beautiful, into a deeper understanding of life, love, and faith. This was a liberating realization, one that gave her the strength to move forward with newfound hope. The divine nature of the dream left her with a sense of awe. She realized that this wasn't just a dream meant for her. It was meant to be shared. The revelations she had received were not only for her healing, but for others who might be struggling with loss or questioning the nature of the afterlife. She felt called to share her experience, to offer the same comfort and hope that she had received in the dream. As she shared her story with others, she noticed how deeply it resonated with them. People found comfort in her words, and many saw her dream as a sign that they too were not alone in their grief. This reinforced her belief that the dream was not just a personal revelation, but a message for the world, a reminder that love never dies and that we are all connected to something greater. With each retelling, the meaning of the dream became clearer. It was not just about Carlos or her own healing. It was about faith, hope, and the eternal nature of the soul. The dream was a revelation of life beyond life, a sign that death is not the end, but a transition into a new reality. This realization gave her a profound sense of peace, knowing that Carlos was still with her, and always would be. In the days and weeks that followed, she continued to reflect on the revelations from the dream. Each time, she discovered new layers of meaning, new insights into the nature of love and the afterlife. The dream had opened her heart and mind to a deeper understanding of the spiritual world, and she knew that its impact would stay with her for the rest of her life. Her dream was not just a fleeting moment. It was a signpost on her spiritual journey, a reminder that love endures, and that we are never truly alone. Through this dream, she found healing, purpose, and a renewed sense of faith in the divine plan. And with that, she was ready to face the future with hope. Are these reflections resonating with you? If so, be sure to subscribe and share this message of love and light with others who may need to hear it. Impact and reflections. The transformation after the dream. The dream left a profound mark on her soul, one that would change her forever. As she woke up that morning, she could still feel the weight of the encounter, as though the presence of Carlos lingered in the air around her. It was a moment of clarity, a turning point in her life where everything seemed to fall into place. The grief that had once overwhelmed her now felt lighter, transformed by the knowledge that Carlos was not truly gone. Over the next few days, she found herself reflecting on the dream and its impact on her daily life. The peace she had felt during the encounter stayed with her, even as she went about her normal routine. The sorrow that had once defined her existence was replaced by a quiet confidence, an understanding that there was more to life than she had previously realized. The dream had opened her eyes to a spiritual reality she had always hoped for but had never truly experienced. Her relationship with Carlos, though changed by his passing, felt stronger than ever. The dream had shown her that their bond transcended the physical world. She no longer viewed his absence as a loss, but rather as a shift in their connection. It was as though he was still with her, guiding her from a higher place, and this realization brought her a sense of comfort that she hadn't felt since his departure. With each passing day, she began to notice how the dream had changed her outlook on life. She was no longer weighed down by sadness or fear of the unknown. Instead, she felt empowered by the knowledge that there was a divine plan at work, one that included Carlos in a place of eternal peace. This new perspective allowed her to move forward with a sense of purpose and direction, knowing that her life still held meaning even after such a devastating loss. She also found that her faith had deepened in ways she hadn't expected. The dream had reinforced her belief in the afterlife and in the idea that love is eternal. This newfound spiritual strength gave her the courage to face challenges with grace, knowing that Carlos was watching over her. She no longer felt alone in her journey. She felt surrounded by a divine presence that had always been there but was now more tangible than ever before. The transformation didn't stop there. Her interactions with others became more meaningful as she began to share her experience with friends and family. She found that many people, like her, had been grappling with grief or questions about the afterlife. Her story brought them comfort and reassurance, just as the dream had done for her. In sharing her experience, she realized that her journey was not just about her own healing but about offering hope to others who were struggling. Her newfound sense of peace also allowed her to rediscover joy in the small things. She began to appreciate the beauty of everyday life, the warmth of the sun, the laughter of loved ones, the simple moments of quiet reflection. These experiences, which had once felt hollow in the wake of her grief, now took on new meaning. The dream had reminded her that life was a gift, one that she could cherish even in the midst of loss. The transformation was not just emotional or spiritual, it was also practical. She found herself more focused and present in her daily tasks, no longer consumed by the sorrow that had once dominated her thoughts. The dream had given her a sense of closure, a deep understanding that Carlos was in a place of peace and that she could continue living her life with purpose. This clarity allowed her to approach each day with renewed energy and hope. As time went on, she realized that the dream had been a turning point in her spiritual journey. It had provided her with answers to questions she hadn't even known she was asking. It had shown her that life, love, and faith are interconnected in ways that go beyond the physical world. This understanding filled her with a sense of awe and gratitude for the divine presence that had guided her through such a challenging time. In reflecting on the dream, she also began to see how it had strengthened her connection with her faith community. She found herself drawn to deeper spiritual practices, seeking out moments of prayer and meditation where she could continue to feel the presence of Carlos and the divine. The dream had opened a door to a new way of living, one that was rooted in faith, hope, and love. Ultimately, the transformation she experienced after the dream was one of profound healing. The pain of loss had not disappeared, but it had been transformed into something beautiful, a deeper understanding of the eternal nature of love. This realization gave her the strength to face the future with courage, knowing that Carlos was always with her, guiding her from above. If you've found hope in this story, take a moment to share it with someone who needs encouragement today. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories that inspire and uplift.